I'm Nancy Strickland, and this video demonstrates a new option for working with dialogues in Windows 7 using managed code. I'm going to be doing the demo in C#, but the C# code and the VB code is posted on my blog at blogs.itmentors.com/Nancy. Okay, let's get started. Windows 7 now has a new File Open dialog that lets the user browse to select a folder instead of a file. To use it, you'll need to download the Windows API Code Pack from MSDN. Here's how it works. This is the interface for a little demo app with two buttons. The first invokes the old style File Open dialog, and the second, the bottom one here, the new one. Here's the code. You can see that what the first button does is instantiates an open file dialog, shows it, and then if the user has clicked OK, then a message box just pops up to show what file was selected. And then the second one is the same, except it invokes the new style dialog, which is called Common Open File Dialog. And then show dialog is the same. The result is called a Common File Dialog result instead of a dialog result. This new enumeration, the Common File Dialog result, and this class, the Common Open File Dialog, are both from the Windows API Code Pack that I talked about that you have to download from MSDN. To use it, I had to add a couple of references over here. The Microsoft.Windows API Code Pack and Microsoft.Windows API Code Pack.shell. Both of those are installed when you install the API Code Pack, and you just browse to where you installed them to add them here to your project. And of course I've added using statements up here for both of those, for the Code Pack, for the shell, and then for the Dialogs namespace within the Code Pack. Okay, now let me run it and show you how both buttons work. Here's the old style. We get a file to open, and then we get the message just saying what we selected. If I do the new dialog, you can see that it looks exactly the same. If I go to my libraries, you can see that I can't select a folder. If I were to select a folder, I'd simply drill down into that until I get to a file. That's all I can select. Now to change that, so that I can make it a folder selector instead, I just add this one line. I add my Open File dialog and change the Is Folder Picker property to true. And now let me run it again. You see that this time, instead of asking me for a file, it wants me to select a folder. And in fact, it doesn't even show me files. All I can see is folders. And if I get down to the point where there are no more folders, I don't see anything. So now you have a dialog that makes it easy for your user to select a folder instead of a file. This control works on Win 7 only though, so users of XP or even Vista can't use it. There are several ways to check what version of Windows a user has, but one easy way is part of the Windows API Code Pack itself. Before I try to use my Common Open File dialog, I'll check to see if Shell Library, which is part of that API Code Pack, is supported. And so in the else of this if, I could show a regular dialog or do something else. And then there's something else you can do with this new dialog. You can set it to start with, that is to open by default to, one of the standard known folders. To do that, you set another property. So here I'm going to add setting the initial directory shell container to one of the known folders, and I'll cast that known folder to a shell container before I assign it. In this case, I'm setting it to the Pictures library, but if I want to know what all my choices are, I can just use this known folders enumeration, and if I hit a dot, I can use IntelliSense to tell me what all my choices are. Downloads, or the document library, or favorites, or the desktop, etc. Now I'll run it again. And you'll see that by default, it's now opened to my Pictures library. And there you have it, a useful new dialog from Windows 7 in less than 7 minutes.